Outlast is one of the most iconic horror games ever made, and it has a super underrated DLC that goes in depth about the nature of the horrors of Mount Massive Asylum by telling the story of Waylon Park, the one who blew the whistle on everything and wrote the very same email seen at the beginning of the base game. He goes through a lot of torturous stuff throughout such a short DLC, so the question is, how much plot armor does Miles have in 2014's Outlast Whistleblower? Today we'll be tallying up his medical bills without insurance of any kind, and every time he survives something out of sheer luck, usually due to the writing of the game, I'll keep track by giving him a chief token. Stick around to the end of the video where I'll be giving him a letter grade based on how much plot armor he has, so we can figure out which video game character truly has the most plot armor. Let's go. Right at the beginning here, after sending our email to Miles Upshur to instigate the main part of the game, Waylon gets knocked on the head and hits his head on the wall, so I'm going to charge him some minor head trauma.
Hands where I can see him.
And then a little bit after this, he is then knocked unconscious from the quote-unquote light anesthetic from this guard, so I'm going to charge him $150,000. This is the usual amount I charge when people are knocked unconscious due to head trauma, because this could cause brain bleeds, brain damage from lack of oxygen, a lot of different things. Could be higher, could be lower. This is the average amount I charge for it.
Maybe you could administer Mr. Park here a light anesthetic. Gladly.
And instead of waiting till the end of the video to talk about this, I'm going to talk about this at the top. They immediately plug Waylon Park into the morphogenic engine, which literally scrambles your brain, scoops things out so that they can shove the wall rider in, and it literally drives people completely insane, and that is why everyone is a complete maniac in this game. So I'm going to charge Waylon $220,000 for years of therapy to undo literal MK Ultra style brain scrambling, in addition to therapy from all of the other things he experiences in this game, which we are about to talk about. As Waylon is escaping from the lab area, he passes the wall rider here and is magically just ignored by him. And then he ends up in this room where the patients mess with him a little bit, make fun of him for not being as crazy as they are. And eventually they just spare him for some reason, so I'm going to charge a chief token for that.
Too good for the likes of us? Think you're different? Something special? There are no observers here. Now, get the fuck out of here before I change my mind.
I'm also going to charge specifically for it here, but it kind of vaguely affects the whole game. I'm going to charge him for various cuts and scrapes for being barefoot for the entire game around all the broken glass and debris throughout Mount Massive. This could be a lot more, this could be a lot less, depends if he needs stitches or not. But this is just kind of a median amount for running around a very dangerous, not clean area barefoot for multiple hours. And then a little bit later, Waylon is shoved in a cremation furnace to, quote, cook, and he is very lucky that he was shoved into the one cremation furnace that has a wall broken in enough that he can punch it down to escape. And then once Waylon gets out into the foggy outdoor areas of the asylum, he interrupts this very normal, not creepy at all basketball game, and these guys don't kill him for interrupting. They all clearly want to. You can see it in their eyes. They want to rip this guy apart and use his head as a new basketball, and they just don't. So I'm charging him a chief token.
Miles Park.
Once Waylon finally gets to a radio, before he can speak and break the silent protagonist archetype, Jeremy Blair comes out of nowhere from the top rung with a nightstick and breaks his nose. Shortly after that, hitting him in the back of the head, likely causing a skull fracture. And then presses the nightstick into his throat to asphyxiate him and basically choke him to death. I'm not charging a chief token here because there's a lot of chaos going around in the asylum right now. Pretty much anything could happen at any time, and it's honestly very expected for something to interrupt this. If it wasn't going to be Chris Walker, it would have been some other inmate. Everyone's trying to go after Jeremy Blair. They all hate this dude, so it was only a matter of time before someone interrupted and tried to kill him. I am going to charge Waylon another $1,750 for antibiotics for an infection from stepping in still sewer water with his cut up feet from, you know, the rest of the asylum, which I mentioned earlier. This is in addition to the $500 I charged for just the cuts and scrapes he'd get from being barefoot. barefoot. It is almost guaranteed that if your feet are as messed up as they would be from running around the asylum in the state that it's in, that if you then dipped them in sewer water with various human excrement in it and likely foreign blood and stuff like that, you would get some sort of infection. The severity of the infection depends a lot on very specific, very minute factors that I simply cannot figure out since it's not touched on at all in the game, so I'm charging a median amount of $1,750. As Waylon ascends the asylum, he is ignored 2 more times by the wall rider. And then right here, as he's trying to climb up this ledge and completely fails, he takes a wooden beam right to the back as he's falling. So I'm going to charge him $80,000 for a bruised spine. And then he falls an additional 2.5 to 3 stories, so I'm going to charge him a death, $7,000. And then later on, when he's about to get the Guskin and he's running around trying to not get the Guskin, he jumps onto this ladder and falls, and his leg falls through the ceiling of the elevator and is not only impaled with rusty metal, but is likely broken from the height of this fall. How he falls through, the fact that he immediately falls to the side after his leg goes through, which would likely break the bone if the impact didn't already break the bone. So between the combination of the stab wound and the broken leg, I'm going to charge him $45,000.
Rather die than be with me. Die. Not like...
A few minutes later, Eddie tracks Waylon by the path that his bloody leg is making, kidnaps him in the locker, and gasses him to knock him out. We don't know what with. I am assuming, based on what's available at the asylum, it's just going to be general anesthesia. No way to know specifically what it is, so I'm going to charge $3,000 just like I did for Miles when he got knocked out with gas.
Here, darling. This will help you relax.
Right before Eddie gives Waylon evil bottom surgery, he is saved by a random patient. All hail this random patient for saving me from having to witness that. Thank you, dude. Thank you very much.
Get back here!
I'm going to charge an additional $10,000 after he jumps out the window to escape Eddie because he lands on the broken leg, which would likely further complicate the fracture, send additional bone fragments through his body, tear up his ligaments a little more, which would just make the surgery more complicated. So I'm going to charge another $10,000 because it's about a 2-story fall. He doesn't land on anything super critical, so it wouldn't kill him, but this would make his leg much, much worse. A few minutes later, the Guskin catches back up to him and hits him with a few left and right hooks, including a broken cheekbone, 2 charges of additional bruising, and a broken jaw.
One more. I tried. You all betrayed me.
He then ties up Waylon and hangs him up by a noose to lynch him as he has with all of his other failed experiments. Let's phrase it like that. I'm not quite sure how to phrase that in a monetizable way. And there is actually a very specific injury for what happens here. It's called a hangman's fracture. It's most common in car accidents, but obviously it's named after this because it also happens when this happens. And it basically is just a fracture in one of the bones in your neck that is very specific and hard to treat, but not quite enough to kill you or snap the spinal cord. So I'm going to charge $120,000 for that.
Hold still. God damn it, what are you? Oh, damn it, darling. No, you need to behave.
We could have been beautiful.
On the way out, Jeremy Blair is by the exit to the asylum and stabs Waylon in the stomach. This would easily be a $75,000 charge, given he had surgery on his stomach. Very messy, very bloody, very bad. Obviously, I mean, he got stabbed.
No one.
And to end out the video, Waylon is super duper lucky that Miles Upshur parked his Jeep here and left his keys in the car with the door unlocked. Why did he do this? I don't know. Did he do it? Yes. So Waylon gets a chief token for that, because if he didn't do that, Miles Walrider almost surely would have killed him. With our final charge out of the way, let's take a look at the totals. Waylon Park had a final medical bill total of $845,750, and matching Miles Upshur, very poetically, he has 11 chief tokens and 1 death, bringing his final plot armor score up to 960,750, putting him in the B rank, just shy of an A rank, which is still pretty good, but those extra few medical bills from Miles when he's being attacked by the Wall Rider just kind of put him up a tier. Those injuries are ridiculous. Given this DLC is less than half the length of the main game, I was very surprised to see that their plot armor is very, very even, aside from those couple of medical bills. They go through about the same amount of punishment, same amount of stuff in the main game and the DLC. Very interesting. And yes, he does survive driving away from the Wall Rider because he's in the comics and then goes to blow the whistle on everything that happened at Mount Massive. You even see him send the email right before the credits. I do find it very interesting that he has more plot armor in about an hour and a half than Grace does from Resident Evil Requiem, and she takes up an entire half of that game. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you disliked it, feel free to dislike it and let me know why down in the comments. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Hit that bell icon if you want to know exactly when it gets uploaded. And if you'd like to support the channel more directly, I do have channel memberships, but of course, no pressure. Though there is a video request here. If there's a very specific video you would like to see on the channel, check out the perks down below. Speaking of memberships, shout out to my members. You guys are the freaking best. Shout out to my nefarious residents: The Epic Rager, One's One Up, Parameches, Casual BFG, Malplays, Felina Marie, Veldi8F, Jared Mail, David Gonzalez, Lamarca Taprol, Rose Meredith, Marvin Israel, Nico Femboy, Wednesday April, Legalized Grenades, Boomstick, Daniel Adams, Diamond S&T, Philo, Michael, Sub Hankar, and Equisy PST. And a super mega extra special shout out to my malevolent residents of the channel: Aircrom Cromer for 15 months, Tim Just Me Really for 13 months, Rosie Posey for 7 months, Hope Burr for 4 months, Kumigato for 2 months, and Disarray for 1 month. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, stay evil, my residents.
You won't know what hit you when I've been around with you in my